G'day, Unine. How you going? Today we're actually starting a new topic. We're looking at measurement, and we're starting by looking at converting between different units of measurement. So we have here a big table, the multiplying factor that goes between various units here. You can see here I've got kilo, which we're familiar with, mega, giga, tera. If if you use USBs or storage devices, or you'd probably be familiar with those. And then there's other ones, peta, exa, zeta, iota, that you're probably less familiar with. But basically, there's more room to grow. And then if we go down into the small, we've got milli. Okay, we should be familiar with that. Micro, which uses this Greek letter mu, which is the Greek M, because we've got so many other M's. We've got capital M in mega, we've got lowercase m in milli. So micro gets the Greek letter M. And then we've got nano, pico, femto, atto, zepto, yocto. So you can see these are all fancy words for very, very small things. And what we need to be able to do is convert between these different units. And so I'm going to teach you a trick to do that. Now, the first thing we've got to do is we've got to ask ourselves whether or not we're going to need more of these units to measure the same thing, or whether or not we need less of them. So if I have a measurement in a big unit and I'm converting it into a smaller unit, we're going to need more of those small units to measure the same thing. So we're going to have to multiply, as you can see here, the total quantity of those units when we're making that conversion. Okay, if you need more of them to measure it because they're smaller, you need to multiply the quantity. If we're going from small units to big units, we're going to need less of those units to measure the same thing. Okay, I could measure in lots of small things, or I could measure it in just a few big things. And so in that case, the number of units we need is less. We're going to divide the quantity. Okay, so that's a little trick to remember. Do I need more or less of them? And then will I multiply or divide? And the conversion factor that we multiply or divide by is basically the difference in the scientific notation of these two units. So we could go from peta to giga, and the difference would be 10 to the 6, okay, because we've got 10 to the 15 and then 10 to the 9. If we're going from kilo to giga, okay, it'll be 10 to the 6 as well, because 10 to the 9 and 10 to the 3, the difference is 10 to the 6. Okay, so that's what you're going to multiply or divide by. So you should be familiar with the scientific notation from term 1 when we're doing this. Now, we also need to remember here that our units actually sit in between here. So you notice that in between all the ones above, we've got a difference of 1,000, okay, 10 to the 3 between them. And then below, it's the difference of 1,000, okay? But there's a little gap here. The difference between kilo and milli is actually 1,000,000 because it's 10 to the 6, because we've sort of skipped the units there. So you could have a 10 to the 0 row in here, which is just whatever your unit you're measuring. So it could be meters, liters, okay, grams, whatever it is. It depends on the quantity or what you're trying to measure, but they would sit in between kilo and milli here. So just be careful about this. There's a sort of gap missing in this table. Alrighty, so converting the following to meters. So we're going from megameters to meters. Megameters are bigger, so we're going from big to small. We're going to need to multiply. And then let's look up from units. It's 10 to the 0 to 10 to the 6. So we're going to need to multiply 5.3 times 10 to the 6. Okay, it will give us the number of meters that we have. And we're actually just going to leave that in scientific notation. You could write out all the zeros and you get the same thing. I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay, so we've used one of our 10s, and then we've got to put 5 more zeros. Okay, and that would be 5.3 meters, or 5.3 times 10 to the 6. It's the same thing as what we've done here. For nanometers, okay, we're going from small units to big units. So we're going to need to divide. So I'm going to go 46 divided by, and then from meters to nano, it's 10 to the 9. But we're just going to use the difference. So divided by 10 to the 9. 10 to the, 10 to the just go positive 9. Okay, you just want to be careful. If you're dividing, then you leave your power as positive. Okay, if you divide by something with 10 to the negative 9, then that's going to ultimately make it multiplying. So when I say the conversion factor is the difference, okay, we're going to treat that as a positive quantity, the difference between those units. And then we're just going to think about multiplying or dividing by that amount rather than getting confused about negative powers and positive powers and things like that. So that's going to end up as, we just pop it in our calculator. So 46 divided by 10 to the 9. That gives us this very small quantity. So we could say it's 4.6 times 10 to the minus 8, which is going to be the same as 0. So 0.12345670. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 4, 6 meters. Okay, so we're just converting using scientific notation when we're doing this. Remember, with scientific notation, it's how much you move the decimal point. So if we moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we get back to 4.6. Okay, if we move it 9 times, we get to 46. But remember, scientific notation, you've always got one digit in front of the decimal point. All right, let's look at some more examples here. So we've got to convert 12,000 meters to kilometers. So for A, part 1, we've got 12,000. And we're going from meters to kilometers. So we're going to big, small to big. We're going to need less of them. We're going to divide by the difference, which is 10 to the 3. Okay, which is just 1,000. And so we end up with 12 kilometers. Okay, now that one obviously you could just do by 1,000 rather than 10 to the 3, but it's the same thing. I want you to be familiar with scientific notation. So 12,000 into megameters. We're going to divide again, this time by 10 to the 6. Okay, and that's going to end up as, so if we've got 12 kilometers and we divide by another 1,000, that's going to be 1, 2, so 0.012 megameters. Okay, so when we're doing megameters, it's capital M, lowercase m for meters. If you want to, you can pop that in your calculator just to check that you've done it correctly. Divide by 10 to the power of 6. And there we go. Alrighty, for part B, we're going from meters to millimeters. So we're going to smaller units. We're going to multiply. So it's going to be 0.0006 times, and then the difference between meters and millimeters is 0 to minus 3. So the difference is 3 times 10 to the positive 3. And we can just move the decimal point 1, 2, 3 times, and we get 0.6 millimeters. So millimeters is lowercase m, not capital M. And then second one to micrometers, it's going to be 0.0006 times, okay, because we're going from big to small, 10 to, and then micro is 10 to the minus 6, okay, so we're going to go times 10 to the 6. And so it's going to times this amount by 1,000. So if we add 1, 2, 3, it's going to be 600 micrometers. To draw a mu is kind of like a U, if you will, with a long tail at the front. Okay, and then it sort of looks like an M at the end. So if you want to draw a mu, do a long tail and then draw a U, long tail U, long tail U. That's how you draw the letter mu. So you say it like this, and it's the Greek letter equivalent of M. Okay, that's how you draw micro. Okay, and then finally, how many kilometers are there in 2.4 gigameters? Okay, so we're going from 2.4, we're going from big, giga, to kilometers, which is smaller. So we're going to multiply, and we're going to do it by the difference between those two measurements. So kilo is 10 to the 3, giga is 10 to the 9. So we're going to times by 10 to the 6. Okay, that's why this difference kind of idea comes in handy. We don't really need a calculator. We can just go 2, 4, and then 5 zeros. Okay, will be our answer. And then for B, how many picometers are there in 7 milliliters? So again, we're going from big. Milli is bigger than pico, so we're going from big to small. We're going to times, and then the difference between milli and pico. Okay, milli is 10 to the minus 3, pico is 10 to the minus 12, so we're going to times by 10 to the 9. Okay, that's the difference between these two things, which equals 7, and then just 9 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Picometers, which is just PM. I believe it's just P. Yeah. Okay, so that is the key. You've got to ask yourself, do I multiply or divide? And then what's the difference between these two quantities? What's the conversion factor? And just leave that as a positive power. Okay, you decide whether you're dividing or multiplying first, and then use the positive power. Alrighty. Good luck with the work today. I'll see you later.